get into my review for his newest film, The Last Night in Soho, one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and something that I was angry that I could not see and review with you guys.
All right.
So, Last Night in Soho, it is a what this movie is. This is, I think, Edgar Wright's take on something like Midnight in Paris, or mixed with a love letter to Giallo, who is the famous Italian director who created stuff like Suspiria, and something that influenced another movie earlier this year with with James Wan and *Malignant*. Um, where we get the story of a fashion student, Ellie, who's played wonderfully, I think, by Thomasin McKenzie, coming to London to study fashion. And in her dreams, she starts traveling back to the 60s and witnessing the story of this singer, this aspiring singer, Sandy, who's played by Anya Taylor-Joy. And what the thing about this film is, one, this is one of the most technically masterful films of this year, especially the first scene with Ellie and Sandy in the same scene together, and how the camera is constantly moving and they're switching places. I would love to have been a fly on the wall of seeing that scene filmed. It's one of the Edgar Wright, I think, is one of those guys where I think there's this thing in film criticism with editing. Good editing, you never notice it unless it is a direct stylistic choice. Much like with Wright's last film, Baby Driver, and how just impeccably that film is put together. And I think he steps his game up even more here. And a lot of the tricks that Wright uses with his comedy films, with stuff like Shaun of the Dead, with Hot Fuzz, with Scott Pilgrim, I think he's using those same tricks, but he's using them for a horror sensibility, which I think this is some of the best crafted scares in a horror movie this year. It's some marvelous stuff to watch. The performance from Thomasin McKenzie, it's incredible. Anya Taylor-Joy proving once again why she is kind of up there with this new crop of young A-list talent. Matt Smith, who's incredible in this, and a wonderful final performance from Diana Rigg, who we all know as the Queen of Thorns herself. This movie, this is right there, up there in my top 5 of the year. I absolutely adore this film. This is one of the few that I'm giving a 10 out of 10 to. I know you had some issues with the ending, but I didn't listen to the spoiler talk. I didn't have time to this morning, but what were your critiques of the ending? So now we're going full spoilers.
Okay, yeah. So we're going to be talking about the conclusion to Last Night in Soho. If you haven't seen Last Night in Soho, just dip out for a second. You can check it out on VOD right now if you want to, then come back to this discussion. And you could also listen to the spoiler discussion we had on the site as well on YouTube. We did a whole ending explain with some other people. Adrian, no, I'm sorry, Adrian didn't come on for that one. Chris Ayers.
It was Chris Ayers. It was Chris Ayers who came on, and Adrian's partner Jeff from We Be Watching Films.
Yeah, yeah. So they came on and they did. We did a review for Last Night in Soho. So, so you said you want to know my issue with the ending, right?
Yeah. What was your critique about the ending? I didn't get to listen to the spoiler discussion you did.
Okay, so my issue with the ending, with the conclusion where it all wrapped up. So the conclusion, what happens is, for people, just to explain it one more time. So the big twist is that the Anya Taylor-Joy character, Sandy, we see her being murdered by the Matt Smith character. But it turns out that didn't happen, that she murdered Matt Smith. And that after she murdered Matt Smith, she became a serial killer, and then she started killing all the different Johns that she had slept with, and maybe some other extra.
Because the thing that's horrifying is Matt Smith lures her in with the promise that, hey, I'm gonna make you this big star, and it turns out he's a pimp and he's hoeing her out.
Yeah, and then so she becomes a serial killer, starts to kill all those Johns that she had slept with, and maybe some extra Johns as well. And that she grew up to be an old woman, and then the old woman she grew up to be was the landlord, was the person that Ellie was renting the room out of, renting the room from. And so that was kind of the whole big thing. What I didn't understand is how she was kind of going back in time and living this experience as Sandy, because it made sense for her to be dead, because at the beginning of the movie, it introduces you to the fact that she can speak to spirits or ghosts in some capacity.
Yeah, they establish early that she is a medium of some sort. And at least with her mother, she's occasionally sees her in the mirror. She occasionally sees ghosts, but I think she wasn't seeing Anya Taylor-Joy's experience. She was reliving the stuff from the other ghosts who died in that room. And especially when you get to the end, you see how many of the ghosts there were. I think it's like more powerful visions than she's ever experienced.
Right. So I was thinking that because we talked about a little bit, I was like, okay, because at the end when the whole thing's, and then the landlord lady, she tries to kill Ellie because she found out that, even though we'll get into a little bit that later too, with the whole killing her thing, trying to kill her. But so the ghosts are not the ghosts that were hunting her down the whole movie. They weren't trying to hurt her. They were trying to communicate with her, and they were trying to have her get revenge for them. So the issue with that is, like, you saying that the ghosts of the Johns are trying to show things from her, from their perspective to her, to communicate with her. Why would they show her Anna Taylor-Joy being murdered? Why would they show that? That doesn't make, I don't know, why would they show her that? And then two, why there's certain scenes that only Anna Taylor-Joy would have seen, like the scene where she's in the dressing room and she punches the mirror. That's only something that Anna Taylor-Joy would have seen. The scene.
I think this is a case where we're dealing with an unrelated. Do I think some version of these events happened? Yes. Did they happen exactly the way that Thomas and Mackenzie is seeing them? Maybe, maybe not.
Okay, I guess if you go with that, maybe, I guess. So yeah, so some events is like, okay, how that's only something that she would have known about. And
I think that scene where we do see Anya Taylor-Joy get murdered, I think it's more of a thematic choice to show that scene versus what actually happened, because even Diana Rigg's character, he said, yeah, Sandy died in that room, and I think that was kind of like the theme of that.
Yeah, we talked about that, and we said that didn't really make sense, because like it's like metaphorically speaking, because I'm like, okay, you metaphorically died, but you didn't die really, and everything like that. Like, okay, because yeah.
Well, that also is something that trauma can do to somebody, which is how I read that scene. The issue I have is with the whole misdirection of the Terrence Stamp character.
Yeah, with Terrence Stamp,
that was the thing that bugged me, because the entire time you're led to believe that he's the older version of the Matt Smith character, and come to reveal, no, he was actually the cop trying to help Anya Taylor-Joy in the 60s. Yeah. Which is so weird considering how creepy Terrence Stamp plays him.
Yeah, that didn't really make a lot of sense. It was like, I knew it wasn't going to be Terrence Stamp, because they was trying to push it so hard that bad guy, like he's...
And also it's General fucking Zod.
Yeah,
get him to play bad guys.
Hey, thanks for the 100 bits, Javon. Good, hey man. Thanks for showing up, man. Much appreciated. He's probably at work right now, Javon. Good, but thanks, man. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you for the 100 bits.
Yeah, it's like they were trying to push that so hard. Like, obviously getting a guy like Terrence Stamp, General Zod. It's like bad guy. So I already knew it wasn't gonna be him. I already knew that it wasn't gonna be him. And like some people said, I was listening to a review actually on oneofus.net, which is where Adrian El Critico, where he comes from, where he reviews a lot of stuff. Also Rose Maddox, she does a lot of reviews for oneofus.net as well. Shout out to her and him. They were saying that, I was listening to the review last night in Soho, and they were saying that they were able to one guy on the review said he was able to piece together the mystery. I don't know how the hell you were able to guess that Anna Taylor-Joy really didn't die, and then she really was the old lady. I don't know how the hell you pieced that together. Don't know like how you were able to kind of use those clues to piece that together at all. So that just felt like that came out of nowhere for me. And I don't think like the whole point of her, even them introducing at the beginning of the movie that she's a medium of some kind, really makes a difference, because there's plenty of ghost movies where characters can interact with ghosts. They don't have a particular special power or ability or anything. So it's like, why even introduce the fact that she can communicate with ghosts? Seems kind of just pointless.
I think it would have, if you didn't have that, it would have just led this to being some kind of supernatural thing versus what I think is going on there. This it would have lent to the question of why is she experiencing this? When you already know that she's kind of a medium, you're just rolling with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I think that's a case of Wright trusting his audience to put two and two together.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole thing, but like I said, I mean, because we've seen plenty of ghost stories where characters can interact with ghosts and ghosts can take them on and stuff. Like we've seen it, like for instance, like in The Haunting of Bly Manor or something like that. Like the main character, that Victoria Pedretti, she didn't have any special ability, but the ghosts, she was able to see certain stuff with with the ghosts, or where they took her on and these different kind of visions and things like that. And she didn't have any particular power, so I just felt like maybe that was kind of pointless. Maybe it just felt like for me in the movie for her to have it. And then towards the end, when she tries to kill her, I felt like we talked about that in the spoiler kind of review ending explained. It really didn't really make sense for her to try to kill her, because the police, they already thought she was crazy, and plus Ellie was operating under the assumption that the Anna Taylor-Joy character had already died, so they weren't looking for the body of a man; they were looking for the body of a woman. So that would make, and then Sandy was a fake name anyway, so I don't understand why she felt the need to kill her. That didn't really, to me, I was like, that was kind of pointless. And then I was like, I think I saw Julian Green, Cobra Star Green, and I think I saw him tweet about this, and he said, I was like, yeah, that's another good point. He said like, that really, like, wow, that must have been some weak ass poison, because like she said like, okay, don't worry, you'll go to sleep in like a couple of minutes. Then all of a sudden she starts kicking and running up the stairs. I'm like, what happened to this poison that was supposed to make you go to sleep? Like, what happened?
Adrenaline can do a lot. In cases like that, and I think there is like historic medical precedent for something like that. It was like that was a situation where she saw her friend John, who I think is played wonderfully by Michael Ajao, who we all know as a Mayhem from Attack the Block from when he was a little kid. I think he's wonderful in this, and his moments with Thomas and Mackenzie, they do a great job of grounding those characters.
Yeah. So did you think?
I think. I think that was a case where, hey, this guy that I like is in danger, so adrenaline, let's go.
Yeah. Okay. So did you think it made sense for the old woman to try to kill Ellie? Did you think?
I think thematically it makes sense, because you have a character in Diana Rigg as the old version of Anya Taylor-Joy. You have a character that is so broken by this horrific thing that happened to her, and something that compounded over and over again just drew her to murdering hundreds of people, which, let's be real, every single one of those fuckers got what's coming to them.
Was it hundreds?
Maybe dozens, who knows.
Yeah. I did, because at the end I did find that really funny.
Yeah, I was kind of like, when I saw Midsommar, I was like, good for her.
Yeah, I did think it was kind of funny, because like when you get that review of all the Johns and all them coming out, and you finally hear what they're able to say. They're saying, save us, get revenge, help us. Yeah, and
Ellie's like, nah, fuck you.
Yeah, she's like, nah, I'm on the woman's side. She's like, I'm on her side.
Yeah, and by the time, and something that Edgar Wright, I think he wanted to touch on, and something that you guys brought up in your review, how far we've come, but at the same time, how little we've come in the terms of gender relations, because Ellie, she gets off the train, it's not even like 3 seconds that she's in a cab and she's already getting sexually harassed by a cab driver.
Yeah, and
it's not even 3 seconds and some asshole that is coming up at the bar is like, hey, it's something like, can I bury my dick in your ass? Which, gross.
Yeah, and that stuff. I mean, you know what I mean. Like, there's tons of stories you hear from women with, you know, taking Uber rides and Uber drivers and things like that. And there's tons of Uber drivers who will probably tell you, like, yeah, man, this is a great way to pick up women, man. This is totally.
It
good.
is not. I drove an Uber. It is not.
Yeah, but he's like, yeah, man, you know, so many drunk chicks that hop in the car, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, here, let me say this for all of the fucking like Uber drivers that watch too much porn. Nobody wants to fuck the cab driver.
Yeah, this ain't fake taxi. This ain't, you know what I mean? This ain't fake taxi.
This is not Taxi Cab Confessions. That shit is not real.
Yeah, that's not happening, bro. Yeah. So yeah,
yeah, and just with Thomasin McKenzie's character, her romanticization of nostalgia in the 60s, how she's constantly like, yes, if I grew up any time, I wanted to have grown up in the 60s in London. And then the movie is like, all right, bet.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, yeah, she gets a rude awakening for sure. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I love a lot of things about the movie. I love the performances. Anna Taylor-Joy nails it. Thomas McKenzie nails it. You know, I just think some of the kind of the weaker elements was kind of them constantly putting Terrence Stamp as like this huge red herring. The Mean Girls, I was like, this is too much.
Yeah, they're comically mean, but I think that's a thing in some of Edgar Wright's films. Like the asshole characters in that, they're comedically so.
Yeah,
like the Andys and Hot Fuzz, like a JB Fox and Baby Driver. They're just so over the top evil that they end up becoming unintentionally funny.
Yeah, I mean, the first time she showed up, that was funny. But then it's just constantly throughout the movie, her and her crew are just harassing. I'm like, okay, don't you got something?
But I think they're not in it enough that it bothers. Because you're more focusing on Thomasin and Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, that conclusion. It also makes me think of something like when that whole moment happened where she does the whole big reveal and you find out, it almost makes me think, and she's sitting there, she's drinking the tea and everything like that. It's like characters in movies and shows, they don't realize they being poisoned until somebody tells you. It's like, oh, by the way, I poisoned your water there, Nick, by the way. Oh my God, look at that. And then all of a sudden he has a reaction. Yeah, starts to fall, drops the cup, starts to fall. It's like, oh my God, because that's how it happens in movies and TV shows.
That's how it happens in movies, and I think it's it like goes to. I think there's actually some like medical precedent for that thing, and like someone's talking about, yeah, this thing will probably start making you sleepy right about now, and then it's like a thing that you feel in the back of your head. And then when they finally like say it, you start to realize, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, if you say so, I mean, pretty good. So.
Yeah, a lot of your criticism of the ending, I get it, but for me, it doesn't take away a thing from this film. Yeah, this is one that is absolutely in my top of the year. I adore this movie. I'm probably gonna watch and rewatch this like 20 times before the end of the year, like I have with most of Edgar Wright movies.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think the ending, the wrap up for me, just kind of knocked it down some points, and I don't know if it's gonna make my top 10, but
a little bit of points for me, but. Also, with Edgar Wright, I think he's a guy who understands that his movies are going to be rewatched, and I'm curious to revisit it knowing everything that goes on.
Yeah. Also, Terrence Stamp getting hit by the car. Didn't understand that. I guess because all the times that Ellie had almost been hit by the car, so I guess it was a callback to that.
It's like a Chekhov's gun that Edgar Wright does a lot in his movies.
Okay, yeah, because he just turns and just car just hits him. Yeah.
And also, I think that's a common thing from Baby Driver, because Baby Driver, you spend so much time setting up Jamie Foxx as the villain in that, and then it turns out that character dies and it's John Hamm. Well, spoilers for the end of Baby Driver.
Yeah.
Spoilers for a movie that's like 4 years old.
Yeah. That was kind of my whole thing with it. Yeah. But glad you loved it. Yeah, glad you loved it like that. Glad it'll be in your top 5.
Yeah. I love me some Edgar Wright. He's like one of the modern. Every time a project of his is announced, I'm there. I'm there day one if I can be.
Yeah.